evening, this is Shawn reporting from DLSM News. As of June 2023, the short-term rental market in British Columbia saw explosive growth, reaching a record of 28,510 active listings, a 7% increase from the previous year. This surge in listings generated a remarkable $133.8 million in revenue, reflecting the increasing demand for vacation rentals. However, this success has also contributed to a growing concern, the reduction of long-term rental housing, further intensifying the city's housing crisis.
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough. Since I moved here, I've seen rent prices skyrocket. It feels almost impossible to find a stable, long-term place to live. The short-term rental market has really taken up a lot of the available housing stock. My rent has doubled over the past year. Isn't that ridiculous? And I can't even imagine how other renters are doing.
Lucas's experience highlights a key issue, the pressure of short-term rentals on long-term housing. And that's why the government has introduced new regulations aimed at reshaping the market. As of May 1, 2024, new rules will require short-term rental hosts in British Columbia to comply with a principal residence requirement. This means hosts can only rent out their primary residence and one additional unit. Hosts with multiple properties will no longer be allowed to rent them out on a short-term basis. This regulation is part of an effort to combat housing shortages and ensure more homes are available for long-term renters.
Right now, I'm only allowed to rent out my primary residence and one additional unit. But then I have over 400 properties across the city. I've looked at similar situations in places like Netherlands where they have comparable regulations. And there, it took 5 years to recover with a significant drop in revenue. We're seeing a similar trend here, and I'm unsure what to do with all of my properties. I can't leave them empty there, but I don't know what to do with them.
Thank you, Mary. And therein lies the core problem. How can hosts with multiple properties adapt to maintain profitability under these new regulations? With multi-listing hosts unable to continue renting out the entire homes or apartments on a short-term basis, the short-term rental landscape is set to change drastically. That's why we invite Dany, a data consultant with experience in helping businesses adapt to shifting markets. Dany, do you have any solutions for hosts trying to adjust to these new short-term rental rules?
Thank you so much for having me again, Shawn. Glad to see you back there. So that's a really good question, I would say. One approach to transforming this back-end property, Shawn, could be to create a unique accommodation for options such as glamping, tree houses, or even a houseboat. British Columbia natural beauty, as we can tell, with over 10,000 mountains, lakes, and 55% mountainous terrain, really lends itself to these kinds of immersive and very fancy experience for user. And it is eco-friendly too. These types of accommodations have really shown a great potentials. People will understand that for growth, an example, that would be the Vancouver Island, I would say, where ecotourism is increasing by 15% annually. That is a really crazy number, and we should aim for that. For example, houseboat rentals in Amsterdam, we can take that as an example, generate over 1.2 billion with V annually. This is very good indicator for us that proves that distinctive accommodations can be quite profitable. Given the unique terrains here in BC, we could definitely aim for that success.
Thank you, Dany, for those amazing ideas. But let me share another point of view. Vancouver's zoning laws and recent changes make this an even more viable solution. In the downtown area, especially, there's a progressive development zone where many of the buildings can be easily converted into other types of spaces, whether for residential, office, or commercial use.
That sounds like a perfect complement to what we've been discussing, Shawn. You really get it. You're right. Tapping onto these dynamic, flexible spaces could really boost the occupancy. This is the solution that people have been looking for, and this is the answer. The listing hosts could focus on pop-up store or events as such, which is becoming more popular, a way to maximize the use of backend of underutilized space. So these are empty rooms that can be used into other types of things. And then again, these types of temporary retails or event space can help to reduce vacancy rates and generate significant revenue. We could definitely gonna have that in our next year plan. For example, pop-up retails program in Memphis in the US reduced vacancy by more than 40%. It's a crazy number, and we definitely could achieve it here too, benefiting more property owners and small businesses alike. By partnering with those local artists, small businesses, or maybe even ecotourism operators, we can definitely create a unique, one-of-a-kind experience that attracts both customers and event planners. I guess I would add more to that. Pop-up events can also be included in a wide range of activities, from art exhibitions all the way to probably food market or even seasonal celebrations. Temporary places like this give a really chance for small businesses to access to prime real estate, sorry for my language, for a limited amount of time, allowing them to generate income while showcasing their products or services. And this is also help revitalizing neighborhood, I would say, drawing into more foot traffic and boosting local economies. And onto that, our firm has also identified that to make this work, it is essential for partner with platforms, for them to partners with more platform or organizations that can connect with property owners, such as event organizer or any other kinds. For example, businesses can collaborate, I guess, with local events planners or all of that mentioned above, or even companies like Peerspace. You probably wouldn't hear about Peerspace, but they're a really good company. They're doing pretty great, which is they're allowing more people to rent spaces for photo shoots or even for experience, helping property owners to unlock the full potential of their real estates while fostering local creativity and business growth. Shawn.
That sounds great, Danny. But how do we actually implement this idea? What would the process look like?
That's a really good point, Shawn. Here's the plan of how are we going to roll this out. So there's like 3 phases. I'm going to go through this really quick. So the first one is the research and planning. This could be done in less than a month, actually. We'll start by understanding the local regulations around pop-up events and analyzing the market trends to identify customer preference. Partnership with local businesses would be the one. Along with event planners will also be a key for connecting with properties owners and event organizers. Roll out to phase 2. Phase 2 is actually a pilot program. We started over. There's no time for waiting anymore. We just have to pick some of the samples. We'll adapt spaces for new users, like turning warehouses into pop-up stores and hosting outdoors events. We'll advertise the space. Run small-scale events and gather feedback from refine the offerings. And the last part, probably the last part, but see, the scaling and optimizations. Once we've set up with the pilot programs, once everything is looking good, we can definitely continue to more like bigger scale. Understanding the increasing occupancy and expanding our network of partners while adapting our offerings to meet the market demand. We probably wouldn't get it right the first time, but we'll definitely go there.
That sounds great. You mentioned monitoring performance. What should the business be monitoring? Are there any key metrics?
Definitely, absolutely, Sam. We're a business analyst here. So key performance indicators or KPI are crucial for tracking success, right? First, we focus on the revenue of the things. Properties on platforms like Peerspace can generate up to $10,000 or more, $100,000 annually. This shows the potential for high returns based on the status quo. If we compare, the increased revenue potential justifies this KPI. We'll monitor occupancy too. I guess that's how it is, right? In Vancouver, there's like typically 62%, but I might be wrong, the numbers. The new zoning regulation may reduce it to around 50%. And tracking this KPI is really going to help us assessing the impact of those changes and adjust strategies.
Yeah, sounds great. We'd like to thank our data consultant for joining us today and sharing valuable insights on how property owners can adapt to the new regulations